And now, here's Dialogue, a podcast with Gene Richard from Kbze 105.9 FM. Today's show is being sponsored by...
As a lifelong resident of Thibodaux, I want to watch Thibodaux grow and succeed. I think I have the passion and the energy to keep Thibodaux moving forward. I've always put the community first. I think that's big. I do have infrastructure issues, safety concerns, culture, recreation, community, and growth. I want all those things. And I think I have the experience and the knowledge to help Thibodaux grow and to help Thibodaux prosper in the future.
The city of Thibodaux faces many challenges due to decreasing resources and increasing demand for services. We must be committed to making infrastructure investments today for the citizens to reap the benefits for years to come. Please vote Kevin Clement for mayor on November 8th.
You know, I forgot one thing, man. I'm used to doing this on radio. Now we're doing it on TV. I got to dress better. I got to act better. I got to look at the right area. I got to say the right thing, but I forgot my coffee. And next time I got to bring my coffee. But anyway, we'll get used to this. It's a little new to me and a little new to you as a listener, as a watcher, not just a listener. But we'll get used to it. And before you know it, we'll have dialogue back on a regular basis. With me this morning, I've got candidate for mayor, Mr. Kevin Clement. And I've been listening to all the forums. I've been either watching them or attending them personally. Been listening to all of the ads and everything else that goes with running for mayor. But first, before we get into that, I want to talk to Kevin a little bit about recreation, because that's what he's doing right now for the city of Thibodaux. And Kevin, you know, you and I go way back on dialogue. We were talking, we had you on once a month, and one thing that always got me, you said, we're going to try anything. Now, we may not make it, and the public may not want it, but we're going to try it. Yeah. And when you look at what's going on in the city right now, recreation-wise, when you look at the number of kids involved, the number of programs, man, you got a full-time job.
Full-time job is an understatement. So, you know, we do this with a group of 3, and we have parks departments that's a group of about 18, 19, but in recreation, we're a group of 3, and one of those is part-time. So it comes down to Kevin Clement and April Danos Corto actually doing all the work. When we started this in 2010, we had a decent program. We had probably 18 separate programs from adolescents to senior citizens. Presently, as we speak, we have 33 programs. Wow. We've been really creative and initiated a whole bunch of good stuff. Haven't had any fail yet. And I think it's because of the dedication and the work that we do. And I think the community has bought in. You know, I said this the other day at a spot where I was, I don't remember where, but in 2010 we had 550 kids playing baseball in our city. We had 50 teams and we had 25 sponsorships. I knew right away, top 3, one of them was business involvement and get the business community back, bought into our style, right? Minus the COVID years, we've increased every year. This past year in 2022, we had 1,155 kids playing baseball. We had 115 teams playing baseball. We had fields inside of fields, and we had 140 sponsorships. That's businesses, that's small businesses, mom and pop shops that have bought into what we do. They've realized we have improved the quality of life for their kids. We're taking their kids off of the streets, off of the sofas, right? You know, the thumbs are not their only muscle getting used these days, and it's truly remarkable. So, you know, when you think about that, and that's just one program. 7 years ago, we created a swim team.
Look at it now.
Look at it now. We haven't lost a swim meet in 2.5 years. How is that possible? It's possible because we put our nose down and we went to work. And we did things the right way. And it's all about the process. You know, I've heard a basketball coach say this the other day. You know, we work at this thing for 362 days a year. We get 31 games. It's about the process. It's not about the games. You're going to win, you're going to lose. It's about the process. And I can honestly say at Thibodaux Recreation, we've improved that process every single year. Not only are we successful with our programs, but physically, we've built 7 different concession areas, bathroom areas throughout our parks. We've created 3 parks. Imagine that. We've created 3 parks. We have a dog park across the bayou over there at Harang Auditorium. There's 10 people there every time you pass.
That's right.
It's one of the huge wins we've done for the city. That was thrown together just kind of like out of my brain. We need something for the animal lovers in our town, and it just took off. So, you know, splash pads. We've built splash pads. Who would ever thought we'd have a splash pad in Thibodaux? Who'd ever thought we'd have a Olympic-sized swimming pool, brand new, that saves the citizens of Thibodaux $120,000 a year in chemicals and water, because we renovated it and we knew what we were doing. So, yeah, really, really proud of the work we've done over the past 12 years in recreation.
Before we get into talking about the mayor's race, have you heard the word pickleball?
Unfortunately, I have.
And tell us where that's going.
So pickleball across the United States is the fastest growing sport in the United States. We've had requests for pickleball probably for a year and a half, 2 years now. We've recently painted 3 courts under our pavilion at Pelche Park. We're in the process of striping all of our tennis courts right now, and we have 4 courts throughout the city. We're going to stripe them for pickleball so people can go out there and grow. I consider it, because I'm an old man now, it's an old man's tennis. It's a cross between badminton, ping pong, and tennis, and people are flipping out over pickleball.
I had one of your closest friends talk about it the other day, and I said, well, I got to ask Kevin about pickleball. But anyway, let's get on to a little bit to the mayor's race, and of course you talked about all the good we've been able to accomplish with the recreation department here in the city of Thibodaux. So you kind of been fixated on that. Yeah. Now you want to change a little bit.
Yeah.
What possessed you to want to take that step and move forward into the mayor's slide?
I've asked myself that question a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. This is something also that it wasn't an overnight decision. About 5.5, 6 years ago, I had friends of mine come and start dropping that, hey, you ought to run for mayor. Hey, you ought to think about running for mayor. And I blew it off. I really didn't consider it. And then about 3.5 years ago, I started thinking, I have a passion for the city. I've lived here all my life. I've raised 4 kids here. We've invested. My wife and I and all 4 of my kids graduated high school here, graduated from Nicholls State University. We just have the energy and the passion and we have the want to do things well for the city of Thibodaux, and I want to see Thibodaux succeed. So after heartfelt discussions and after some serious questions, my wife and I said, let's do it. Let's go for it. We can better our city. We can do better for our community. And, you have the energy to do it. So then you got to come up with a plan. Then you have to come up with a strategy. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been extremely blessed. I've had a network of people that have seen the work I've done in 12 years. They've seen the progress we've made, all the different programs that we innovate and that we produce. And it was just a natural, seamless fit. I know how the city works. I've been in every one of these budget meetings for 12 years. I've been in every single department. I know the details and the inner workings and what it takes to communicate amongst departments, with fire departments, with each individual fire company. I think I have the experience. I think I have the knowledge to get it done.
Having said that, just in my term here in the city of Thibodaux, we've had Mayor Harang, we've had Mayor Kywet, we've had Mayor Eshtay. They've all got visions. They all had visions, and of course Mayor Tommy now is term limited out, and he's that was one of the things that came about as a result of him being mayor. Said we needed term limits for mayor, so he's term limited out now. We've got a chance for there's a new mayor that will be coming in. What's your vision for the city?
My vision is to provide affordable sewer services, gas services for our city, keep our citizens safe, and continue to grow. We are 5.5 square miles. I've said this before. I don't think there's going to be an interstate running through Thibodaux in my lifetime.
God, I hope not.
I don't. And then if there is the possibility of that happening, where's it going to run to? It's not going to stop in Thibodaux. That doesn't make any sense. So you have to deal with the constrictions you have, right? I want Thibodaux to grow. I want people in our town to prosper. I think our businesses can use a little reinvention, rejuvenation, maybe. It's going to be hard enough during this first 6 months to keep our head afloat with just maintaining the infrastructure of the city, the roads, the bridges that we all know need work, the roundabouts that are coming, that's in the plans, keeping the drainages and the water and our citizens safe. So, my vision is keep this small town sense of community, move forward, and let everybody have a great quality of life.
Kevin, that's a great point. And when you look at Thibodaux, and I'll read the LMA, the magazines that we get for the small towns in Louisiana. A lot of these small towns are struggling. Yeah. Really, really struggling, and we're very, very fortunate. And I always go back to the thing that Thibodaux is a bedroom, in some ways, a bedroom community, number one. Yep. Number two, people here, we've got it designated as a retirement community. Mm-hmm. People here in Thibodaux, and you've been to the town hall meetings, and so have I, they're about quality of life.
Absolutely.
They're about, you make sure we don't have much crime. You make sure the roads are good. You make sure I can go to Nichols. You make sure I can go see some plays. Yep. You make sure I can shop. Make sure we got banks. All of those things.
Absolutely.
And so that makes us unique in the fact that, yes, we got to grow. And I like the way you said it. We do have to grow.
Absolutely.
But we got to be careful because as well as we grow, we got to maintain that hometown attitude.
Absolutely. I said this 2 nights ago. I remember walking down this main street, or we're on the corner of Green and West 3rd here, but I remember walking down Main Street when I was a young boy. I remember the Christmas lights being strung from building to building.
That's right.
I remember Morgan and Lindsay. I remember who my first T-ball coach was.
Man, you older than I thought.
Well, yes, I know. I remember the people who had an influence in my life, right? For 12 years, we have consistently done that with the youth of our community. And we have so many programs that touch the baby and me classes and the disabled kids, the special needs people, and our senior citizens. But let's face it, our focus is on the ages from 6 to 18. And we have programs, we have opportunities, and we literally have made memories for all these people in our city. And these memories are going to stay with us. I've had the opportunity to leave Thibodaux several times. I've never wanted to. I always wanted to stay here. And it's because I want the same things for my children and now my grandchildren that I had when I was that age.
Listeners, you heard it from him. Kevin Clement, candidate for mayor of the city of Thibodaux. We're going to be back, and we're going to talk about the city some more.
Hello, I'm Kevin Clement, and I want to be your next mayor for the city of Thibodaux. I was born, raised, and educated right here in our city. You may have seen me at St. Joseph Church, Pelche Park, football games, or either on the campus of Nichols State University or our local high schools. I have worked for the last 12 years as a department director for the city of Thibodaux. I want to be your mayor because I believe in the citizens and this community. Let's get together. If you see me out and about, walking your neighborhoods, at events, don't be shy. Come introduce yourselves. Together, we can keep putting our city of Thibodaux first and move our community forward.
Hello. I'm Thibodaux City Councilwoman Constance Johnson, and I'm running for re-election on Tuesday, November 8th, to continue serving the residents of District C. After the devastation of Hurricane Ida, I teamed up with Marsha Calvin Cooks, and we assessed the needs of the entire city of Thibodaux. We immediately opened a drive-through distribution site at the Moses Community Center. We also delivered hurricane relief items directly to the doors of residents. For many years, I have conducted quality residential meetings, distributed food and other essential items to needy residents, and toys to hundreds of children during the Christmas holidays. I will continue to be your voice all the time, and not just around every full-year election cycle. On Tuesday, November 8th, I humbly ask you to re-elect Constance C. Johnson to the Thibodaux City Council. Let's continue moving District C forward and not return back to the good old boy politics. Paid for by Constance C. Johnson Campaign Fund.
And welcome back, listeners, and here we are back again for the third dialogue in front of the courthouse again, and I'm beginning to like it. The weather, we got to do this every Wednesday, Howard, because the weather is absolutely gorgeous, and here we are again in front of the beautiful courthouse, and with me this morning is Miss Constance Johnson. She is running for Councilwoman, District C, here in the city of Thibodaux. She was first elected, we were just talking about it, first elected in 2010, 2012, somewhere in that neighborhood. But you've been on the council 12 years. And good morning and welcome to the program, Miss Johnson.
Good morning.
And
yes.
I told Miss Connie before the program, let's just chill. She's talked about budgets. She's talked about all of the nuts and bolts and all of the numbers in her district and everything else. Today we're going to talk a little bit about something else. Hey, let's just calm down, chill, and have a good time. 13 days to go for the election. I know you're working hard. I see your signs everywhere. I see you everywhere. So I know you're working hard. But I guess my first question to you is this, and listeners, I'm not, I have worked with her for a long, long time. And I'm not even stepping out of line when I say this. She's about one of the hardest working council people I know, especially in her district. And the thing about District C is it's unique, I think. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
District C is a very unique district. The makeup is great. We have so many opportunities in District C, and I continue to unfold many of the areas in District C that people are not even aware of. I think there are areas in which people live that we've not actually focused in on, and my concern is just making District C the best and doing whatever I can to improve District C, and we have done that. Over the last 12 years, District C has really, really improved, and we are continuing to work forward in doing that.
You know, we all, and you and I have always talked, and we've said that what's good for Thibodaux is also good for our districts. And that's true for the most part. But there are some districts that do take different things. And of course, yours is one of them. And I always hear you and I always see you working with, I don't want to, maybe the underprivileged, or maybe working with the kids in the way of schoolwork, in the way of after school work, in the way of things for them to do. You accomplishing that?
Yes, I am. I believe through the school system that I have a relationship with, and other organizations that I work with, and other individuals that I work with. We are continuing to look for ways and means to address the needs in District C with the youth by providing various services, art services, summer programs, plane trips. And of course, with COVID, we were not able to do that. But since COVID is now coming to pretty much a comfortable position, we're able to travel again. So we want to make certain that we take our youth to the various areas. Some of the youth have gone to various prisons to try to curtail some of the problems that we have in our areas. We've taken kids to various museums for educational purposes and other purposes as well. So we are continue to look for ways and means to help the students as well as the parents in the district, because we know if we can help the parents, then we know for certain we can help the child. So we are continuing to do that, look for businesses that will buy into what we see District C is in need of. And I think some of the things that District C is in need of is just providing some of the services to kids that do not have sometimes the opportunities that other kids have. And District C is a very complex district, and it's a district made up of many levels of income. But we do know in District C that we have low levels of income in District C, and some people are just not able to afford some of the privileges that some people in District C can. So my purpose in looking for resources are to make certain that each person is afforded the same opportunities. We may not be able to get there at the same time, but I do believe as we go along, we will be able to find opportunities for everyone in District C, from the child to the elders in District C as well.
One of your favorite words is partnering. And I've heard you use it many, many times. And I know, as you mentioned, that, you know, some of those challenges are great. Are you having a tough time finding partners, or are you, I know you're always hunting. How are you making out with that?
Well, you know, like anything else, it is tough, but I believe when people see the work that we put out in District C, the trust factor is one of the most factors that people look for. And I believe that people see that I am willing to move forward and do whatever I can first and foremost. I think when I put myself out first, then others will follow. I believe because of that, we're increasing the organizations, increasing individuals, and increasing just support systems. Partnerships are so great, and I want to make certain that I keep those partnerships. I want to make certain that organizations like Baton Rouge, I've had new organizations to come in. They are looking at the potential, and they're looking at how we are advancing District C.
Let me ask you this, and of course we've been talking about people, and you're a people person. Also in District C, and I've heard you at the council meetings, got some structural problems, not necessarily that are not, uncommon to some of the other districts, but in District C, I know you've had some problems in the past with drainage and with flooding and some substandard situations that have arisen. How is that doing?
Well, I'm very grateful that the council has now passed a package, which of course will address some of the drainage problems in District C. I am very concerned, and as I've always said, concerned for the drainage. I'm concerned about some of the damages that occurred after Ida. And because of what happened and because of the resources and the connections that I have, I was able to assist many of the people in District C to repair their roofs, to repair their homes, to replace some of their losses, clothing, properties, all sorts of things that I was able to do through a grant that I was able to receive to help people in District C as well as others within the city based on the need. Many of the people in District C did not have insurance, and because of that I was able to give extra funding that I was able to receive to many of the residents in District C.
Let me ask you this. Did you work with FEMA at all?
My God, yes, I did.
Tell us about that experience.
From the onset of things, I was able to get FEMA on site. And I would say Congressman Graves was a great help to me in doing so. FEMA came in several times at my distributions, and many of the people benefited from that. So, and I still have that relationship. I had a meeting on September 29th, and I had my meeting in June, and I was able to have FEMA down. And also now I was able to get another organization through FEMA to come in to help do some extensive repairs and to help give support to many of the people still in our district that were not able to afford insurance. So now we're bringing all of that in to help.
Let me ask you this. Excuse me. Let me ask you this. When all of these programs, and I'm listening to you, and I didn't even know that you did. I mean, I listened to you on the council. I didn't even know you did all of this. But there's tons of programs out there that apparently people didn't know about that you found. As the back part of Ida, the real part of Ida settled in, and people didn't have homes, people didn't have roofs, people had flooding, people didn't have food, people didn't have clothes. But I see in your district, there's a lot of work going on.
Yes, there is a lot of work going on. One of the organizations that I was able to make contact with came in from Baton Rouge. On the backside of things, they were able to receive funding, extensive funding, to help low income and also others in the area that did not have insurance and do not have insurance to repair and even to rebuild. So that is an ongoing process. I have a meeting in about maybe 30 days with the organization again to bring them on site to work with the people in the district within our areas.
Last question. Elections are fun because every 4 years we get to get rejuvenated, as you well know, and our sights kind of change and our goals kind of change. What do you see in the next 4 years coming up? What's your vision for your district?
My vision for my district is to make certain that we do extensive evaluations to see what our needs are. On top of what we've done and how we have improved the district, there's much more to be done. I would hope that we will be able to rebuild not only the district but the relationships. I believe there are people in our district that are looking for more. We have a lot of young people coming up in the district that have potential to do things. I would like to meet with those young people that are interested in maybe businesses to know exactly how to go about it. Not just take things for granted or assume anything.
but to understand the protocol of what you need to do and how we can work together in making District C a richer district. A district for the children, a district for the adults, a district for everyone involved. The district has expanded, and I want to make certain that we are ready and that we are prepared for everything. For the storms, for the challenges. We have a lot of challenges in District C, but I do know that a lot has happened to improve some of those challenges. So if we continue to move forward and continue to address the challenges as a whole, I know that District C is going to be one of the best districts.
You heard it from right here, listeners on Dialogue. Ms. Constance Johnson, candidate for District C. Ms. Connie, thanks for being with us this morning. As always, very, very nice talking to you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Holloway, and I'm running for mayor of Thibodaux. Whether it's the rise in crime, job opportunities, or too much time spent sitting in traffic, I'm here for you. I'm ready with a practical, doable plan to address our city's most pressing issues. With over 30 years of experience meeting challenges and getting positive results, I'm prepared to lead on day one for fresh leadership and positive change. On November 8th, vote Sandy Holloway for mayor. Paid for by Sandy Holloway for mayor.
And welcome, listeners, to Dialogue at KBZE 105.9 YouTube channel here. We're in front of the courthouse again, and we've got another mayoral candidate with us today, and Miss Sandy Holloway. Miss Sandy, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Gene.
You bet. Great having you. And, well, I tell you, it's nice. It's sunny. I hope you're not squinting too bad. I'm trying not to.
It's much better now
but
than what it was in July.
yeah, you're right. It's, it's just fun being out here in the wide open and not in the studio. But anyway, we've got Miss Sandy Holloway here, of course, another candidate for mayor. And first of all, chill. This is nothing that's earth-shattering. I know you've been keeping a hectic schedule with all that you've been doing and forums and talking to people. Well, just relax. And we're not gonna. Believe me, my questions won't be tough. Because I'm just not a tough guy when it comes to that. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I want to know. First of all, I want to know what made you want to do this.
Well, I had this in me for, I want to say, it's been a couple of years that I just felt like there was something more that I was being called to do. As a public servant and elected official, I love serving people. And for some reason, when this came about and other things, I felt like, wait a minute, this just may be what I have been feeling, of some calling to serve our community. And because I've served the statewide and always have done public service since we've moved here 46 years ago, always involved with organizations and teaching children. And then when I approached my family about this, we felt like this is something we need to really consider, talk about, pray about, and seek if this is God's will. And as we prayed and really talked through what we had to offer as a family, what I could offer as a public servant, I felt good. It just felt right. And then I decided to move forward and be a candidate for mayor, and quite excited about it.
Well, first of all, thanks for doing that, and congratulations for doing that. And listeners, and I've said it a million times, you want something to happen, you got to run. Sometimes you just got to run, and you just got to make the move. And I urge you all the time, listeners. I don't care if you're running for city council or you're running for mayor or you want to run for state legislature or whatever. Get involved. Get involved in politics. And Sandy, you've been a public servant for a long time. You're correct.
Yes, sir.
Having said that, and I listened to you as you're talking. Why? What's your vision? What do you see? What do you want to accomplish? What's some changes that you want to make? What do you see for the future, if it's your future?
If it's my future, I felt like on the onset of saying, hey, this feels right. And I began walking the city and meeting with constituents, knocking doors, talking. And the more I walked and knocked doors, I began to even feel a faster heartbeat of wow, a vision for Thibodaux. This is it. I'm feeling it. I see it. And of course, there's a lot of what ifs. And I've always said, what if we had a master plan that can help all of our citizens and in the city government with city council to see where can we be 5 years from now, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And a master plan consists of the infrastructure. And people think, well, it's just roads, streets, sidewalks, but it's so much more with the infrastructure. It's about what can we offer here in our city besides those particular items, like the soft infrastructure with how is our police department functioning, our fire department, our educational system. How can we as a citizen and a government support these particular items? And I see downtown, the revitalization of downtown with bike paths, walk paths, greenery, the areas that we could sit and talk and have coffee along with our bayou. You know, there's a lot of talk about this boardwalk, and I'm so excited about that. And, you know, you kind of commend our people, these individuals who have invested already into doing something. They're unstoppable. It's like that's what it's all about, to do a work for our city. And besides that, how about renovating our auditorium to where we have a friendly, easier access for concerts, for plays, for boxing, skating, whatever it may be in our auditorium, amphitheater, because we're leaning more towards the arts. So we want to have that opportunity to have that available. Parks and Recs. We talk about a state of the art. However, let's talk about upgrading and continually leverage all of our parks to make it to where our families could stay here. Because when you talk state-of-the-art complexes, whether it's a community center, you're looking at years down the way. Mm-hmm. And I want people to understand, I can talk about it today and say, hey, I want a community center. I want a state-of-the-art baseball field. But it's not going to happen today. It takes money. And where does that money come from? I have connections with legislators. I'm going to go to the the Capitol for that fund. Congress, whether it's capital outlay or economic development, there's money out there, and we need to tap into it for our city along with grants. We talk about the revitalization here, renovating the auditorium, having state-of-the-art park and rec complex. And it continues on. What about beautifying our city? That we can engage our community clubs, our citizens, because when you elevate different parts of the community, you're elevating everyone for prosperity. And I so desire to have this beautiful city, a lot happening in entrepreneurship within our economic development, that we can encourage our own to open up their business, and that's entrepreneurship, and have them downtown or within our city, a different quadrants of our community. And that's going to take a lot of work. But for people to open up their businesses, we do have to have the right infrastructure, whether it's hard infrastructure or soft infrastructure. And I could go on and on about what can happen within our community to improving drainage at different quadrants. As I walked and I noted that there were issues in our community, and how can we manage? And I know that the city has worked hard to try to solve those problems, because community problems need community solutions, and we need to work together as the mayor's office with the council, with our community. But I thought about this for community citizens to understand what's happening in our city government and with our council members, is to have this professional dashboard in our government to where they can see daily, these are the projects that we have, whether it's drainage, whether it's sidewalk repair, or the turnabouts that are going to be on Jackson and Acadia area, whatever the projects are, that we have a professional dashboard that they can see the baseline. Oh, this project begins today, and they could see the end result of when it's going to happen and the cost. And I think it's that open communication that we need to have with citizens. and that they won't question what is the city doing. And if we have that available for them, all these capital outlays, drainage, and the list goes on for them to be able to see and talk about it. And I also want to have a mayor's council. I want people sitting around the table with me to talk about hard issues that are of concern. But along with that, we have to offer this quality of life survey. And in this quality of life survey, it brings out our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities. We have incredible opportunities here. Our people, our culture, our bayou, and our historic district. And what are our barriers? What are our threats? Why can't we move forward? And I want this community to have these conversations, to talk, and to bring in citizens from faith-based, from our school system, because that's a major part here. We need workforce development. We need our school system in with us to support, because they're our future. I want to make the city great and brighter for our children, grandchildren, your children, grandchildren, for them to remain here, to choose to stay because of the opportunities. And when we look at our police department, because we know that's one of the major concerns with our citizens is crime. And when we walk the streets, when I walked and spoke with residences and noted how many dogs are in homes, and it's not just one or two, sometimes it was 3 and 4, hundreds of dogs across the communities, and the security cams. And I thought, wait a minute, there's something really of concern here. And they began to tell their stories of the crime, the burglaries, the speedsters, the drug trafficking. How can we manage that? And it's to be a partner with the police department and to encourage our police department to be a partner with our communities, to have that dialogue with our communities and bring in a task force to have conversations of what is happening, what are those hard things that are occurring, and can the city fully fund that department along with this task force. And we have to capitalize on retaining our police officers. They're doing a hard work, a lot of demands on them, their safety, and I feel for them. We are in a time where mentally, socially, physically, spiritually, that they need support. And how can the mayor's office be of support to them, and making sure that they have the resources available when they look at that data to note that there are crimes happening more in this quadrant of the city? We need to send resources there, or there are burglaries in this, or traffic issues here. How can we manage that and help support our police officers? And leadership training is vitally important, that they know they have the support from the mayor's office, but they need to be empowered to do their job and to have accountability, a high internal accountability and transparency. And that goes even with the government office, that it needs to be transparent, because I'm a public servant as a mayor, and people need to know where the money's being spent and how it's being spent. How are we devising strategies to spend these dollars, these sales tax dollars, and prioritize those dollars? And I can continue. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That's a vision. And as I was listening to you, one more question. And of course, I know you're busy, and we'll let you go. But before that, as you were speaking and incorporating everything in the city, how do you see Nicholls State University be involved in that?
Oh, my Nicholls State University is a major component of a revitalized city. You must bring in your university as well as your health care, because for quality of life, these components are necessary. And I see Nicholls State being a partner with early child care. Early child care is part of the quality of life that we need to train our children young. Our university is also, then when you're looking at early childhood, but let's swing across that pendulum to workforce development. They have opportunities for us, just like they're bringing in the incubator, the vault there, and to bring in entrepreneurship, our young people. And I am so encouraged by that. I'm excited about that, to bring in our children or individuals from Nichols here to do a work, a practice, and help, that there will be some partnership and liaisons there that can help support these young entrepreneurs to develop their business, how to recruit them, retain them, and sustain them. And so all these individuals together with Nichols brings in a major component, because we can also tap into economic development. We can tap into the small business administration from the federal government. Chamber is another piece of that, because Chamber will be in there, and that's exciting that they can be a part. And the city government can be a part of that particular. I desire to have interns in the city. I want interns from different departments, especially like, say, the business department, to come into our city and work in different departments to get that understanding, the feel of what it's like to work in city government. And it could be the public works. It could be in the police department. Why not use their marketing department to help market our city and the city police? There are just so many different ways that we can utilize Nichols and leverage it in that, and attend their football games and be a part of all their excitement that they have for us in the city.
Well, I'll tell you that one more question, but I got one more.
Sure.
You having fun?
Yes, I'm having fun. You know what the most fun is? When I knock doors and when I meet with people, when I sit and talk this way. That's how I gained my knowledge about the city. I thought differently. I was on the outside looking in going, okay, this is what I think. But when I began knocking doors and speaking with citizens, different areas of our city, going, wait a minute, I'm starting to have a baseline here. It seems like crime is number one. Drainage and infrastructure, the traffic, congestion, people are going, help, we've got to stop this. What are we going to do when the canal bridge has to be dismantled? You know, there's a demolition there and a new bridge. We already have trouble with Tiger Drive Bridge. What are we going to do? And I said, that's when we need someone from city planning, like a, say, South Central, someone that understands the scope of planning to help us understand what we need to do, whether it's the traffic lighting that needs to be switched out. Do we need to veer here? Do we need to have another alternate route? It's going to happen, especially with the bridge. We're going to need a different route system, and that's what people are talking about. What are we going to do with school? What are we going to do with fire department? Think about that, where they can't cross the bridge. What are we going to do? So I want to say the fun has been meeting with people, and even at the point of drinking coffee with them. And I said, I'm coming back. We need to continue these sidewalk or bench talk or porch talk, and it's been amazing.
Sandy Holloway, candidate for mayor. Thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely.
Had a great time, and I hope you did too. And I told you it wouldn't be too hard on you. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Sandy Holloway, candidate for mayor, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and again, don't forget, November the 8th is election day. Early voting is going on now till when?
Tomorrow until tomorrow evening. Yes.
Make sure if you're not going to be here on November 8th, make sure your early vote. You've got the rest of the day today and tomorrow. And again, thanks for Miss Sandy Holloway, candidate for mayor, for being with us, listeners and viewers. Thank you for being with us today, this afternoon, here back at the courthouse. Another beautiful day. I tell you, Howard, this is getting to feel like home. Kind of liking it out here. But anyway, hope you enjoy the day. Enjoy the rest of the day. And we'll see you at the next podcast here on KBZE 105.9.
That's good. But this will come out after early voting's over with.
That's all right.
So just talk about...
All right, don't forget the election November 8th. Make sure you get out and vote, because as we say always, majority rules. If you want your candidate to win, you got to go vote. You know, because if you don't vote, two things happen. Number one, your candidate may not win, and number two, you don't have a right to talk about anything. So get out there and cast that vote. I don't care who you vote for. This is a free country. You vote for who you want. But get out there and vote. Majority rules. Get your candidate elected, and we'll be happy if you do. I know I will. My old sidekick Ben Harang and I have talked about that for a million times. Everybody, please get out and vote. Go to the polls. We can't say it enough. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it here at KBZE.
Heather Hendrix here, candidate for Lafourche Parish Judge Division A. This is a Lafourche parish-wide election, from the Fouchon to the St. John, up, down, and across the bayou. For the past 8.5 years, I've worked for you as a Lafourche Parish Assistant District Attorney, prosecuting thousands of defendants. And I've had over 75 jury trials, including the death penalty. So please vote for me on November 8th, Heather Hendrix, number 59. Remember, justice delayed is justice denied. Paid for by the committee to elect me, Heather Hendrix, your next judge.
And welcome, listeners, on a beautiful afternoon here in front of the courthouse. Welcome to Dialogue, KBZE 105.9. I know we're out here enjoying the afternoon, enjoying the sun, and yeah, isn't it great? And I got a candidate for Judge Division A with me this afternoon, Miss Heather Hendrix. Miss Heather, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on this beautiful day.
I hope you got her Cajun accent.
Golden meta.
The thickness of it just amazes me, and I don't understand, but I hope you as a listener got that, because I'm sitting right next to it, and it's so thick it's just bleeding over into me. Yeah, I mean, Heather gives me the frisson so bad I almost want to cry.
I hear you. You got it on me for it.
Heather is a Cajun. She's been here long enough. She qualifies as one.
Thank you so much.
She's got a story, and of course we're teasing, and she's not from here originally. And I guess I got to ask you, how did you find your way from Monroe? Shreveport, I'm sorry. From
Monroe.
Shreveport all the way down to Thibodaux.
Well, I haven't lived in Shreveport since I graduated high school in 1988, but it's just something that is just in my blood. It's not going to come out. Or maybe it's a side effect of COVID. I don't know. But for some reason, it seems to be getting stronger, my accent, that is. I graduated from Tulane Law. I taught 8th grade in the public schools for 11 years. And then at 36, I went to law school, graduated from Tulane Law in New Orleans, and I worked for the Orleans Public Defender's Office, learned a whole lot there. Worked for Martin Regan and Associates out of Orleans Parish, where I went all over the state. Every Saturday we would meet and put out the week calendar and see who was going where. I would put 800 miles a week on my truck driving across this state. But after the first time I came to Lafourche Parish, I would fight on Saturday mornings to come to Lafourche, because I called it peace on the bayou. I need some peace on the bayou, because everyone was so nice and lovely to work with. And I'd park right over there on the bayou side when I had court, and I'd walk past the DA's office and I'd point at it and I'd go, I'm going to work there one day. I'm going to work there one day. Well, sure enough, when after I left Martin's office and opened my own law practice, I had a trial here against Miss Annette Fontana, our clerk of court, who was working for the DA's office that time, and I beat her. And I'm the kind of person, you fight fair on the field, but you hug neck and kiss cheek afterwards. And Cam and Christine came and watched that trial. And afterwards, they recruited me to come. They said, have you ever thought of switching to the other side? And would you come work for us? I said, yes, and where do I sign? So when I came into Cam's office, I saw all the heads on the wall, and I said, I'm home. This is definitely peace on the bayou. So I've been working at the DA's office for 8.5 years. Loved every minute of it. Started March 11th, 2014. Best day of my life. Every year, March 11th, I send Cam a text and say, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And what was cute is when I went and met with them, Christine said, what's your long-term goal? And I said, to be judge. And I said, wait a minute, what's your long-term goal, Christine? And she said, to be DA. So we got one of them, now we need two.
And you're here, and you're running for judge.
And I love it. I love every second of it.
Okay, let me ask you this. 36 years old, you decided to go to law school.
Uh-huh.
I know you do a great job at the DA's office. I know you love the DA's office because I've interviewed you before.
Mm-hmm.
what is the attraction to be a judge?
The attraction is much like teaching. I think being a judge is just like being a great teacher, because if you can run a classroom well, you can run a courtroom well, and that's why I like it. Moving it to the professor stage, which is that judge, knowing what's going on in the courtroom, keeping control of the inmates in the box, the inmates on Zoom, making sure the lawyers are on point, focused, on time, where they're supposed to be. And the main attraction is I've worked so much with victims, and I've heard their stories and seen their frustration. I've also worked with defendants who have who want to get the process rolling, because justice delayed is justice denied. So it's very important that a judge is mindful of all the parties, the defendants, the prosecutor, the victims, that you see the big picture, the community. For instance, I've seen numerous times a defendant will come up and they'll have a possession of meth charge, okay? And the judge will say, oh, that's just a possession charge. It doesn't, they've had 5 before. It's just a possession. We'll just give them a slap on the wrist. Well, they don't realize is the officers that went into making that case, the neighborhood that is sick of seeing the cars coming through the neighborhoods, stopping at a house for 5 minutes and then on their way. Well, they're buying drugs. That judge needs to realize the impact that the community suffers from just one person. It's not just a possession charge. It's the family that's having to deal with a loved one. And I know you cannot love somebody to sobriety. You cannot order someone to sobriety. That person has to have what I call a come to Jesus moment and decide they want to change their lives. And oftentimes, jail is the place for them to possibly have that come to Jesus moment. Now people say, oh, you just want to put everybody in jail. What are we going to pay for all that incarceration? Well, darling, don't you think you were paying for them beforehand? Don't think that you weren't, because you were. A judge is a judge. That's the end of the road. A judge needs to remember the role, to stay in his or her lane, that you're not a therapist, you're not a social worker, you're a judge. Also, being a teacher for 11 years, I know that if a juvenile comes into court for bad behavior at school, that child has had every opportunity for success from their teacher, from the guidance counselor, from the SRO, assistant principal. That school is sending that child to that judge to have something done for accountability, for actions, not just a slap on the wrist, to have the parents and the child have accountability. So I come to it with that mindset, knowing the impact that one unruly student can have on a classroom can change the whole demeanor. So my teaching experience informs what I would be as a judge, and my prosecution experience informs what I would be a judge, and my time as a defense lawyer informs my time as a judge. And I just cannot wait. This is what I want. My mom, who she passed away, I think it's been, she passed away September the 10th. So it's a little over a month now. This was always her, it was always her dream that I either become a judge or Barbara Walters. So she's what sustains me. I haven't even had time in this process to grieve her. So after the election on November 11th, I'm heading out of town to a cabin in the woods on about 10 acres that I rented with a stocked pond. So I'm going to sleep, fish, and hopefully have some time to just reflect and go through the grieving process of that.
You like to fish?
I love to fish. I'll fish for anything that bites. Salt water, fresh water, whatever.
All right, let me ask you this. And what I know about lawyering, and what I know about the judges, and what I know about the courtroom and the way all of that works, you could probably put right there on my little short fingernail on my little finger. But I always hear about a judge being fair and impartial.
Correct.
Okay. How in the heck do you do that?
Okay, this is how I look at it. Think of it like an umpire calling balls and strikes. You don't want to root for one team or another and call more strikes so that the opposite team does well. You want to be looking at that fair and impartially, meaning with no bias. So let's say Joe Boudreaux comes in front of you, and you're related to Joe Boudreaux, or you know Joe Boudreaux's Pyran and all this stuff. Oh, you come from a good family, Joe Boudreaux. Why are you doing all this? Why? Let's just give you. You don't want to have that familiar relationship or any knowledge. That's why I love the fact that I wasn't born here, because I have a total appreciation. I've appeared in 20 of the 43 judicial districts. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. Not being from here, I have such an appreciation for the wonderfulness of Lafourche Parish that I want to keep it that way. And I don't have any kind of preconceived notions about people, because I don't know who your mama sat next to in second grade, or who your daddy's secretary was, or, you know, grandmother's Pyran. I don't have any of that. So I can look at people and judge them for what they are in front of me. Now, when it comes to sentencing, you're allowed to look at their previous record. Well, the previous record of, that's what really a judge is supposed to look at. And the seriousness of the crime, if there's victims, if it's a crime of violence, and take all that in consideration. Because crimes of violence, which they're listed in RS Revised Statute 14:2, list all the crimes of violence. Those crimes, if you plead guilty to that, you're going to do about 85% of the time. So if it's a 10-year sentence, you're going to do 8.5 years. If it's not a crime of violence, you're only going to do 25. So if it's a 10-year sentence, you're only going to do about 2.5 years. Yes. So a judge needs to be knowledgeable of all that. You can't just say, oh, that's the Department of Corrections. That ain't me. Well, you need to be mindful of that, because if you want to have a meaningful sentence, for example, all these DWI horrific crashes where people are killed, the max is 30 years. Well, if the blood alcohol, and this is getting kind of technical, but if the blood alcohol is below 0.20, it's not a crime of violence. So if you give them the max, they're only going to do approximately 7.5 years. So if they have other charges, if you want more time, you might need to stack that time, run it consecutive. You gotta have a good working knowledge, and I'm the only candidate that has that criminal experience to know that with no learning curve. I can hit the bench running.
How long were you a prosecutor?
8.5 years.
That's a long time.
It is, and I love every second of it, and I'm ready to move on up.
All right, District Judge, Division A.
Correct.
All of Lafourche Parish?
From the Fouchon to the St. John. Although I had someone make me a sign that said Fouchon, and it had the N crossed out, because this North Louisiana accent says the N. So I guess I'm supposed to say from the Fouchon to the St. John.
Have the Hendrix listeners running for Judge, District Division A, and of course that is Lafourche Parish. That'll be on November 8th, and we urge everybody to vote. I've said this to you a million times. You want your candidate elected, you got to cast the ballot. You want majority rule, you got to cast the ballot. Don't do anything that happened in New Orleans about 8-10 years ago. We elected a U.S. senator with 11% of the vote, of the registered vote. Don't let that happen here. Heather Hendrix, thanks a lot for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to meet with you and talk to you and talk to some voters. But like you said, go out and vote. Every vote counts. There, in Baton Rouge, the East Baton Rouge Parish, there was a judge that won by 2 votes, and they even did a recount, and it was still 2 votes. So every vote counts.
Don't tell me your vote don't count.
That's right. Oh, that gave me the free zones when I saw that. I was like, oh.
Miss Heather Hendrix, candidate for District Judge, Division A. Listeners, viewers, thanks for being with us. God bless you today. And we urge you to look for us here on Kbze 105.9 YouTube. Hey everybody, your old friend is back, and I'm keeping up with technology. Hello, friends. It's Gene Richard, inviting you to join me for Dialogue, a video and audio podcast presented by Kbze 105.9 FM. Look for the podcast on my Facebook page, on the Kbze YouTube page, and on the Thibodaux Now Facebook page. The audio podcast will be available on these social media apps, Podbean and TuneIn. Stay up to date with Thibodaux News on Dialogue, the podcast. We're going to change it up once a week and hopefully more as it grows in viewer and listenership.